So today's session is on the personal and professional development in health and social care sector. My name is Shazia Khan, and you're all on hopefully you're all on the right unit. It's the unit 6. And we're just going to go through the elements of the unit. So the unit is it's a level 3 unit. Are you all on the right unit? Yeah? It's personal and professional development in health and social care. So the unit is really there to develop your skills and knowledge to plan your own personal development for any sort of further study or work within the health and social care profession. And it looks at any sort of future reflective practices. The unit itself has 4 learning outcomes. So you've got 1 today, learning outcome 1, learning outcome 2 tomorrow, and then next weekend you have learning outcome 3, learning outcome 4 on Sunday, and then the assignment discussion. So you have 5 sessions, okay? And then the assignment discussion will go through what is expected of you to do in the assignment. The assignment is on Moodle, the assignment brief, and it will be there for you to have a look at, and the unit specification is there for you to have a look at. Okay, and you must demonstrate and produce some work in regards to the learning outcomes. So you will have 4 sessions, and you will have an assignment discussion session. Okay, so who else has just come on? Olu? Jamia?
Hello.
Dana? Yeah, I'm just writing the names down of who's just come on. So we've got Olu, Okolu, Osama, Ayo, and Datun, and Amika,
Yeah.
Irene. Okay, so I'm just giving you an overview. So my name's Shazia Khan, and I will be doing the unit with you. The unit is personal and professional development, and the unit is level 3, and it's unit 6. So if you're all on the right unit, that's good. And also there's 4 learning outcomes within the unit. We'll do learning outcome 1 today, and then learning outcome 2 tomorrow, and then next weekend you will finish learning outcome 3 and learning outcome 4 and assignment discussion. We'll have at the end of it, we'll have an assignment discussion as well. Okay, so the whole point of this unit is to develop your skills and implement your own personal and professional development. So what you want to do in the future, you know, reflecting on that. You will demonstrate an achievement when you're doing the assignment of the 4 learning outcomes. So the first learning outcome, which we're doing today, which is to understand career and progression opportunities in the health and social care sector. The second learning outcome is to understand professional development in health and social care. The third learning outcome is to understand reflective practice and how it supports personal and professional development. And the fourth one is to understand and how to plan your own personal development in health and social care. You know, looking at elements of the SMART targets, any sort of stages that you want to put together for your action plans in regarding a personal development plan, identifying what your targets are, what you intend to do. So throughout the 4 learning outcomes, we'll be going through elements of that. Have you got any questions before we carry on with the session? Anyone? No, is everyone okay? So the first unit is learning outcome 1 we'll be doing, which is to understand career and progression opportunities in the health and social care sector. So before we go into it, does anyone know what kind of careers are within the health and social care profession? What kind of Olu, what kind of careers do we have in the health and social care profession? Olu, no? Dotun, what kind of jobs do we have in the health and social care profession? Anyone? Osama?
Hi, can you hear
What
me?
kind of jobs do we have, Osama, in the health and social care profession? Can you hear me, Osama?
Hi.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly.
Excellent. Ayo, what kind of jobs do we have in the health and social care profession?
With my knowledge, I think the kind of jobs we have in health and social care, it should be
Yeah.
healthcare assistants,
Yeah, healthcare
support
assistants.
worker,
Yeah.
and I had I don't know if it's part of it, but
Healthcare profession, social worker. What else? There's a huge variety of different jobs within the healthcare profession, which we'll be going into now. Can you all hear me? Because I'm getting
I
messages
could
in the
say
chat.
no, occupation is part of it. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Nursing,
excellent. Because
also nursing.
I'm getting messages in the chat saying they can't hear me.
Oh, I can hear you clearly.
Excellent. So the whole point of the unit is to develop your skills and plan and implement your own personal and professional development for any sort of further study or work you want to do in the health and social care profession. Indicative content for learning outcome 1 is to understand career and progression opportunities in health and social care sector, to look at career areas in health and social care, access points for careers, the roles and responsibilities, so what kind of jobs there are within the health and social care profession, so you have a better idea. Progression opportunities, career progression, training and qualifications, skills required. For certain jobs, you need a certain amount of skills. You know, for becoming a nurse, do you need a degree? Would you need an academic, like a degree, if you wanted to become a nurse? If you wanted to become a doctor, you'd need academic skills as well and academic qualifications. And we look at meeting skills and knowledge requirements. Key terminology when we look at what personal development is. So the first one, what is personal development? When someone asks you, what is personal development? What's the first thing that comes to mind? What's personal? Temi, what's personal development?
Yeah, personal development they are the skills individual can portray your personal skill acquisition, things you acquire and you can
Excellent.
use.
Yeah, things you acquire, things you know consider your aims and objectives, you know, skills you want to, employability skills, you know, it might be planning your future skills. So personal development is a process that's a lifelong learning process. And it's a way, like Temi said, for you to assess your skills and your qualities and set yourself goals. You know, it's really important that you set yourself goals. Then we have professional development, and that is again about skills as an employee. So, you know, why, as a professional development in the health and social care profession, why would you want to increase your skills? Millie? Millie, why do you think you want to increase your skills?
In order to be able to develop in the society,
Yeah,
and impact your personal impact input
yes.
on people
Millie,
out there.
Millie, what if you want to apply for a better job? Do you need better
Yes.
skills?
Yes.
Yes. So, you know, you need new opportunities. You need professional development, you know, is about career opportunities to lead to new opportunities, to develop your skills, you know, to make sure that, you know, you are, if you want to improve your job and get promotions and things, you increase your skills. And it's really important within the health and social care profession that you increase your skills to, you know, better yourselves and make sure that you know, you are if you are applying for jobs, make sure that you are applying for jobs that meet your targets. So you are going through training and things. Then the next one follows on from professional development, which is CPD. And this is CPD is referred to as continuous professional development, and this happens in a lot of organisations, not just health and social care sector, but all organisations. And it's there to develop your career so that your skills are up to date. You know, that you are attending courses that are up to date. Why is it important to have CPD and keep on top of things? Why do you think it's so important? Emeka, why do you think it's so important to have CPD in place?
It is important to have CPD in place because you need continuous development in order to do well in whatever career you have chosen.
Yes, yeah. But also, Emeka, do you think it's important to keep up to date with changes and laws and things like that?
Yes, it is very important because
Yeah.
these are things you meet on your everyday activities.
Yes, and especially in the health and social care sector, why is it so important to keep up to date with any sort of changes and things?
To me, it's very important because things are changing on daily basis. Nothing is constant.
Yes.
Things changes, and because of the changes, you need to be up to date with whatever changes that is within the sector you are.
Yes, and it could be for you to ensure that you practice safely and legally. You know, you are following the law and you are safe in what you are doing, and you are following what the regulatory body wants you to do. So CPD is for you to keep up to date. So, for example, I'll give you an example. I teach law as well. And if I don't keep up to date with all the new laws and changes, then I'm not going to know what the changes are. So then I'm going to be teaching the wrong thing. So you have to keep up to date because the law is changing all the time. Like Emeka said, everything is changing all the time. So you have to keep up to date and make sure that you are teaching up to date things, but also in your profession, that everything is up to date so that, you know, especially in the healthcare social profession, you know, making sure you are following the requirements of the regulatory body. You know, if you're practicing as a nurse, you're following the requirements of what the body wants you to do, but also, you know, making sure that you are practicing safely and legally as well, following the requirements. So when we look at reflective practice, right, it's really important. And I believe some people don't like reflecting, but it's really important because it's there to look at your own practice, you know, and reflecting properly, learning through experiences. You know, if you don't reflect on yourself, then, you know, it would become difficult. You know, reflection is how you know, analyzing any sort of actions, your experiences, helping you to improve and develop. And there's a reflective cycle there, where it looks at teaching, self-assessing, considering and practicing. And it's really important that you know, improve and develop yourself. And why do you think it's so important to have reflective practice in your workplace? Some people don't like to reflect on their practice because they think that, you know, everything they are doing is okay, you know, but there are some areas that, you know, you need to develop on, and you need to have an insight into different areas where you can work better. You know, it's not a bad thing to have reflective practice in place. And it gives you an insight of what you're doing. And it is, again, continuous development. So it's really important that you reflect, you know, each time you know, go through working within an organization. So working in the health and social care sector, 1.1, outline careers and job roles in health and social care. So, you know, there are different job roles within health and social care, and there's a range of different services to support adults and other people. So there's a different range of job roles, and you know, working in that social care sector means, you know, supporting needs of individuals, but also, you know, improving if it's things like care work, things like that. There's many different roles within the health and social care sector, and the whole point is, why is it important to have these different roles within the health and social care sector? So you've got things like care worker, personal assistant, social worker, community support and outreach worker, supervisors and managers, occupational therapist, activities coordinator, technician, administration, support staff, things like cleaning, cooks, chefs. Why is it important to have these different types of roles? Do they all do the same thing? Temi, do they all do the same thing?
Well, they don't do the same thing, but they have similar, some things are similar, and it is important to have this body to regulate their activities, to monitor and regulate what each of these health sectors does.
Yeah, so you know, there are some that may link together, like Tammy said. Some of the jobs may, you know, link together where they're working with patients. Some may be different, but there's really important, you know, that they are all in place, because these different jobs do different things and they help individuals work differently. So, you know, you have a personal assistant that may go out and work in care with an elderly person, and then you may have a healthcare assistant who works in the hospital, may do similar things but works in the hospital rather than going out. So, you know, to have these different roles, it's really, really important to have these different roles, and we're going to go through each role so that you've got an idea of what these roles are. Okay, so we have things like direct roles, direct care roles, and these are working with people who need care and support. An activities worker is the first one, and they're there to, they're based in the care, usually based in the care homes. And the role is that they're motivating people, they take part in events, organize events, and you know, they book external suppliers to come in and organize trips and things like that. And they lead discussions about activities, and you know, they are there to help in regards to any sort of organizing any sort of events or anything. Then we have the element of a care worker. What do you think a care worker does? Anyone? Care worker?
Yeah, they support with all the activities of daily
Yes.
living,
Yeah,
like with personal care
yeah,
and maybe preparing meals
yeah.
and
So
also checking.
do they just work in the do they just work in the care homes, or can they work in the people's home and in the community as well?
They work
Yes.
in the community as well.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
And
in
you
people's
know,
homes.
they can deal with people with different abilities. It could be people, care workers that, you know, need mobility needs. It might be people with disabilities, health issues. You know, they're there to deal with any sort of activities. If they have issues with drinking and, you know, eating, helping them, assisting with any sort of personal care with them. You know, making sure that they are, you know, assisted throughout. Then we have the personal assistant. How is that different, the personal assistant? How do you think a personal assistant is different? They mainly deal with people in their home, don't they, personal assistant? Or in the community, and they deal with organizing and supporting that person's physical and social activities, making sure they're booking their appointments or going to the appointments with them, helping them to get to work, or if they go to college or university, any sort of personal care with dressing, supporting tasks, managing, you know, monitoring their medication as well. So that's a personal assistant. What about a rehabilitation worker?
A rehabilitation worker is like someone who assists a person to get back to their independence.
Yes. So give me an example. Could it be someone who's been in a car accident and then is like getting back to normality?
Yeah, it can be
Yes.
that, or someone who just like especially the
Depression.
elderly, they fall. If someone
Yeah.
is a fall and
Yeah.
then maybe they stay in hospital for some time.
Yeah.
So when they are discharged, they need to be assisted to get back to normal.
Yes. So it could be someone who's had a fall. It could be anyone who's had a car accident. It could be anyone who's had an accident where they're getting back to normality. So rehabilitation worker will try to help them, you know, support them, and also, you know, if they are using specialist equipment, you know, that's really important that a rehabilitation worker would be able to help them get back to normality, to use the equipment. If there are any sort of life skills, you know, that person would help that individual getting physically back to normal. The next one is shared lives carer. Shared lives carer, what's that? So that's anyone who needs care and support again. So it could be an older person who has dementia. It could be a young person who's transitioning from like foster care. And this is someone who has a long-term condition and who wants to live independent with the support of someone else. So that shared life carer will be there to support an individual. So anyone with mental health issues, it could be anyone with issues around, you know, any sort of disability or physical impairment. Then we have an advocacy worker. An advocacy worker is there to support people in accessing any sort of services. What kind of services would an advocacy worker be able to help the individual with? Could it be things like, you know, disability living allowance, housing, you know, trying to get them housing in place? So advocacy workers look at elements of, you know, disability living allowance, any sort of care plans that need to be put in place, any sort of financial planning, and they need to look at helping people make their own decisions, because sometimes if anything happens and they become ill, it's sometimes difficult for them to make their own decisions. Okay, then we have within the health and social care, we have management roles. Okay, so there are different management roles. And they are there to, you know, obviously assist and coordinate any sort of elements of care within the organisation. So the role of a team leader could, or a supervisor could be to provide high quality care and support through the staff members. They may be developing care plans, they may lead the team, and do supervisions and appraisals and things like that. So they have supervisory and team leading activities that they need to deal with. You then have a manager. What is the main element of a manager? What do you think a manager tends to do or has to do? Doris, what do you think a manager does within the health and social care profession? No. Ole, what do you think a manager does?
They
Managers
supervise.
are the one that
Sorry?
make sure, or the manager are
Yeah.
the ones that make sure the organization is being well organized and being controlled
Yes.
by the other staff member.
Yes. And do they make sure that it runs with high quality and, you know, make sure that, you know, everyone is doing their job properly?
Their job duty, yes.
Yes.
Their duty,
Yeah,
perfectly.
they oversee the day-to-day running of the
Day-to-day
organization.
activities. Yes.
Because it's really important that managers are in place, because, you know, they help support organizations. Then we have deputy managers who lead and manage and deliver the organization to a high standards. And within them, they have team leaders, and they support the manager and also include overseeing the organization as well. And then we have specialist coordinators. Thank you, Doris. Manager is in charge of running the day-to-day operation of an organization. Excellent, thank you. Specialist, we have a specialist coordinator, and that individual is someone who deals with people such as, you know, areas of like end of life care, you know, dementia. They work in care homes or in local authority, health or social care, and they have a specialist area that they deal with. Why is it important to have that specialist area to deal with, like dementia or end of life or cancer? Why is it so important for this specialist coordinator just to concentrate on that area?
Because they were being trained on it, and to give them the full feedback on how
Yes.
the dementia patient is being.
Yeah, it's important to that Olu, for that person to have you know, to have the knowledge about cancer or dementia or anything like that, because that person will just concentrate and be a specialist on that area. And there's a need for having them because they work well. Other social care roles are things like housing officer, housing support officer, who deals with you know, people who need housing support. So if anyone needs access to any sort of support, they'll deal with them. They'll also ensure that residents live in, you know, a safe and secure environment, and they carry out health and safety assessments and risk assessments. Volunteer coordinator, they are responsible for finding, managing and coordinating volunteers. Is it important to have volunteers within the health and social care sector? Volunteering, do you think it's important to volunteer within the health and social care sector? It's really important to have volunteers. Yeah. What were you saying? Sorry.
I say yes.
Yeah, it's you know, it's really important to have volunteers to help run the organization, and there's a need to have lots of people that volunteer as well. Social care prescriber, they connect with non-medical support. Welfare rights officer, and they deal with the welfare of the individual. They'll deal with the elements of, you know, advising them about any sort of housing, any sort of legislation. They'll help them with filling out forms for benefit. Because if someone becomes disabled due to an illness or something, they would be able to apply for disability living allowance. So they will help them with that. The welfare rights officer, they will know all the law and everything. Employment advisor is just someone who will help someone get back into work, you know, support them, talk about any sort of assessing any sort of skills, provide a range of different services for adults with learning disabilities, supporting people with CVs and getting back into work. You have an administration role, which would be to carry out any sort of administration, admin in regards to it, and then you have a trainee and trainer or an assessor, and they are there to ensure that, you know, they are delivering any sort of training and improving the knowledge and skills of the staff, so ensuring that staff have the right skills and knowledge for their job roles, designing and delivering training programs and keeping records for staff, you know, CPD. Then we have regulated professional roles. So these are the ones that are regulated and registered as well with certain bodies. And they are really important because they have to follow the laws and requirements of that awarding body. So the first one is a social worker, and they are there to offer support to lots of different people, people with learning difficulties, people with depression, schizophrenia, and they look at what care needs they need. And they do assessments to make sure they continue the right care for that individual. And, you know, they look at elements of intervening when people need support or safeguarding. Then we have occupational therapist. What's an occupational therapist? What do you think they do? We mentioned a little bit about it earlier, occupational therapist.
Occupational therapists, they assist people with the daily activities.
Yes.
They check that everything that a person needs is in place, like if there are any adjustments that needs to be
Yes,
made to a
excellent.
house.
Yes. Yeah.
any equipment, all the equipment necessary, like adjusting the toilets and all.
Yes, yes, excellent. And any sort of mobility issues, you know, if they can't walk or if they need a lift in the house, they're the ones that will put that in place to say that they need this kind of facilities in the house to help them. And then we've got a registered nurse. Obviously, the registered nurse is there to improve the quality of life of people and get possible outcomes. And they work with individuals and their families to understand any sort of healthcare needs. And some nurses work within the community as well. And they are there to work with the families and understand the wishes and coordinate different professionals such as doctors. They work with physiotherapists, they work with occupational therapists, social workers to make sure that the needs are met of the individual and make sure that they are in place. The next one is nursing associate, and they work again with families and the carers and to promote any sort of health. They carry out things like clinical tasks such as blood pressure, ECGs, and they support adults and families, and closely they work with the registered nurses to help them as well, and different doctors, and they look at monitoring and supporting the individual. The next one we've got is complementary therapist. And the complementary therapist provides things like, you know, is a complementary therapist, could that be private as well? It's things like, you know, reflexology, massage, aromatherapy. You know, they're there to help the individual with the treatments, delivering different therapies. That could be private as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be that they work in a care home, healthcare, or it could be in someone else's home. They may be a professional. And a counsellor. What do you think a counsellor's job is to do? What do you think a counsellor does?
Counsel the patients and also the staff.
Okay. Do counsellors work with the individuals to offer any sort of emotional support?
Yes.
Yeah.
Counseling
Yes.
them how to live a better,
Yeah.
independent life.
So could it, Judith, could it be things like, for example, if someone's passed away, could a counsellor be there to offer emotional support with someone who's had a bereavement?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it could be someone who's had a bereavement. It could be someone who's, you know, got a long-term condition. It could be someone that's, you know, got an alcohol addiction. It could be someone who's, you know, got a drug addiction. They work in the care organisation, and they work in the health community, and they also, counsellors are independent as well. They have their own jobs as well. And then we've got finally the ancillary roles. Here you've got things like cooks or kitchen assistants who prepare or cook the meals for the individuals. You have housekeeper or domestic worker who are there to ensure that, you know, the residential or sheltered house is kept tidy. You know, so there's a need to have all these roles in place because nurses can't be ancillary roles. They have drivers or transport managers as well who take care of the day-to-day living of the transporting people to appointments. You know, it may be from care homes, it may be taking them out to a trip, it may be their day-to-day activity, and also maintenance. There's a big need to have maintenance within an organization, isn't there? I mean, if you don't have maintenance, does everything run properly? You know, you may need a gardener, you may need a painter, a decorator, you may need someone who needs to repair the plumbing. You know, all these and safety inspections need to be put in place. So these are all the different types of roles. Now we'll go on to looking at 1.2, which is to explain progression within a chosen career area. So it's really important to look at progression within an area. You know, you need to be able to progress within any sort of area. And, you know, you have career progression. You can't just be a registered manager just like that. You need to have experience. You may need qualification. Here it says that you need a level 4 in health and social care. Why is it important to have, if you want to become a registered manager, why do you think it's important to have a qualification in place? Why do you think it's important to have a qualification in place?
Mm.
Yeah,
So
okay, sorry, please talk.
It's okay. You know, it's important in any role. Go on, just carry on. Who was it? It's okay.
Yeah, the qualification will guide the manager in leading the role in the organization.
So if you want to progress to, you know, becoming a manager, you need to obviously have a level 4, maybe in, you know, managerial, you know, management qualification, because, you know, it's there to help you improve your skills. You know, you need to go further, but you need a qualification in place. You know, like, for example, social workers, the next one, social workers, they need a degree. Yeah, you need a degree here. And you need to be registered with the professional body to become a social worker. Why do you think it's important to be registered within a professional body?
if you're a professional body, at
Yeah.
least you'll be able to know what you're doing.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And it could be that you have to follow, for example, a code of practice. You know, you may have to follow a code of practice to say that, you know, you have followed what you are doing and you are following the code of practice rather than doing what you want to do. Because a social worker, you know, they have to have skills in place. They need a social work, you know, degree in place, you know, to be able to give that kind of advice and experience and qualification. They need to hold a social work professional. Team leader, supervisor, this role is dependent on the setting that you're in. So you could be in any sort of setting. You need probably a level 2 qualification and level 3 qualification. So as a team leader or supervisor, could you get that job if you are working in the profession for a long time?
Without the certificate, without the qualification, even if you work for a long time, it doesn't matter.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
yeah. What
Why do you
matters
think
is
there's a
if you
need to have the qualification?
with the
If you,
qualification, it will
yeah.
guide you on what you're supposed to do.
Yes, yeah. And if you need the job, you would go for the qualification. Do some employers help you get the qualification whilst you're working?
They can't actually get it for you,
Yeah,
but they will guide you on how
yeah,
you can
guide you,
get
yes. Yeah, they would support you and guide you. You know, sometimes, you know, they'll say, do the diploma whilst you're working, you know, on the job. So, you know, do level 2 or level 3 whilst you're working on the job. So, you know, that will give you a certificate at the end of it. So if a job does come up, you're able to apply for that job. You know, because it's important that you have the qualifications in place, because no organization is going to give you a job if you don't have the qualifications in place. You can't just become a nurse just like that. You need to have, you know, your qualifications in place. And the next one is, again, going to the nurse. Here you will need to be registered with the Nurse and Midwifery Council, and you need a degree in nursing, okay? You will need the degree, you know, and there are different many routes. So you could become a healthcare professional and then you could work towards becoming a nurse, okay? But you need to be, you know, going to university and getting a degree. You know, because it's a postgraduate postgraduate. You can also study further and, you know, get a postgraduate diploma, but you need to be registered with the awarding body, which is the Nursing and Midwifery Council. And they're your regulators, so they would be looking at what they expect of you. So, you know, you need to make sure that you have a degree in place before you could become a nurse. You can't just become a nurse just like that. You might be a healthcare professional, but you need a degree in place to become a nurse. Occupational therapist, again, you need a degree in place to become an occupational therapist as well. It's not something you would just gain just like that. You need to make sure you are, you know, if you practice, you need a degree in occupational therapy, and that degree has to be approved by the Health and Care Professionals, HCPC, and registered with them. And different universities have different requirements, you know, but you must have a degree in health and social, degree or diploma in occupational therapy. Why is it important, again, to have these qualifications in place? Why do you think it's so important to have these qualifications in place?
Absolutely, it's just the guideline for you to know what you are doing.
Yes.
Because if you have the qualification, you might have gone through what you're supposed to in any organization you find yourself.
Yes. Yeah, you need the qualifications in place to make sure that you are following the requirements of the awarding bodies as well. Okay, so this was just something to do for homework. Have a look at that website, and this is part of your assignment as well, and there's different career progressions. And look at what your career progression will be. You don't need to email the role, you know, we'll discuss this tomorrow in the morning. Before the session. Have a look what career progression you've got, what yours comes up. So the link's there, go on that link and have a look in your own time, and then we'll have a look, we'll discuss it a little bit tomorrow, okay? So analyze 1.3, sorry? 1.3, analyze skills and knowledge required for specific role in the health and social care sector. So you need to have certain skills to work in the health and social care profession. You know, and these are some of the skills. So empathy, why do you have to have empathy? Why do you think empathy is so important?
You can feel the way the patient is feeling. You can have the same feeling the way the patient
I can't hear you properly.
I mean, empathic means
to
feel the way the patient is.
Yeah. And is it showing any sort of compassion towards the person?
To show compassionate.
Yeah.
So patient.
Yeah, and being able to connect with that person and being able to, you know,
and let them feel in love.
Yeah, you maybe being able to think about how that person is feeling at that point and their family is feeling, and you know, making sure you connect with them and put yourself in their position and how they feel.
Yeah, sure.
Them skills are really important. What about flexibility? Why is that so important? Would you be working? Would you be working 9 to 5?
9 to 5?
No, would you be traditionally in your health and social care profession? Would you be working 9 to 5, or would you have different working shifts?
Yeah, mostly different working shifts.
Yeah, and you need to make sure that you're flexible and you're adjusting.
Yes, you have to make sure you're flexible.
Yeah.
Because it might depend on at the time you were being needed.
Yes.
And if you're not flexible, it's gonna affect the plan of whatever they're doing.
Yeah. What about a team player? So you need to make sure you work with others well.
Yes, you work with your team.
Yes.
You have to get involved.
Yeah.
You have to get involved. You have to participate in what the team is doing so that you achieve a set goal.
Yes. It's really important in any organization to be a team player. And dealing with pressure. What's dealing with pressure? A skill, dealing with pressure, being patient.
So, okay, if there are casualties, you should be able to manage issues when they arise. That's the pressure. Maybe someone needs maybe there is an emergency and there is need for an ambulance to come over, and there are other service users that are in need. So you have to prioritize and be able to manage the prayer at that particular point in time.
Yes. And then a really important one is communication skills, being able to interact with, you know, families and different people, facing challenges, being patient, you know, communicating with the patient as well. Sometimes patients get upset. You should be able to communicate with that patient, you know, and listen to them. Active listening is really important.
Be able to calm them down when they are in their
yes.
most some of them are aggressive. You should be able to manage them to make them calm down when
Yes.
they're in
Yeah.
that position.
And you know, just talk to them. It might just be that they need talking to. That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah, strong work ethics. So going over and beyond as well, you know, making sure that you have got strong work ethics and you've got strong standards. Positive mental attitude so is vital when suffering in distress. You need to remain positive. Remaining positive will help the patient or the individual who you work with. Time management is another one that's really important. Making sure that, you know, you are on time as well and making sure that you are not late. Self-confidence, nobody wants to be cared by someone who thinks they are too confident. So make sure, you know, them are the skills that need to be put. And dealing with criticism. Why is it so important to deal with criticism? Some people don't like dealing with criticism. Why is it so important to deal with criticism?
It's good to deal with criticism because you'll be able to know where you're lacking. You'll be able to adjust yourself. If you are not criticized, you won't know where you are lacking and where to brace up.
Some people don't like it's constructive feedback, isn't it? Was it Judith that who just spoke? Oh yes. So certain people don't like constructive feedback, but I think it's good because it helps you, like you said, it helps you improve.
Yeah, that's
and it
it.
helps you become a better person, you know.
Yeah.
So it's really, really important that, you know, I mean, my students, some of them, when I teach in other places, my students, some of them don't like constructive feedback. But yeah, but it's good that they get it because they're able to improve the assignment or able to improve things. So constructive feedback helps you. I get constructive feedback and I like constructive feedback because it helps me improve myself and become a better person. But some people don't like it, but it's good to be able to, you know, change yourself and accept criticism, you know, not in a bad way, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got personal development and skills required, and I think this is really important. You know, you need personal development skills to help you become better, but you need skills like things like, you know, the first one on there is active listening skills, and that's really, really important. Why is it so important to have active listening skills?
When you have active listening skill, it will make you achieve a good result.
Yes. And when you're not only hearing what someone is saying, but you're also listening, you know, feeling their thoughts and everything, you're able to listen to that person and make sure that you are listening to them. Because if you start rolling your eyes,
and you even make less error.
Yeah.
It also helps you to understand
If you're sat in a situation and you start rolling your eyes, are you listening to that person?
No.
No. Your body language. Your body language plays a big part, doesn't it? Yeah, your body language, if you are rolling your eyes and you are bored and you are yawning, that person's going to think this person's not giving me any attention. So you need to listen to them. Listen to them. Make sure you allow them to speak and listen without interrupting them, because they want to be able to take everything off their chest. And make sure, you know, you have eye contact with that person, because active listening involves body language and making sure that, you know, you are checking that they're able to understand things, you know, and, you know, making sure you are not interrupting them as well, and, you know, not rushing them, because they want you to listen to them. And just, it may be just something very basic, you know, that they want you to understand what they're going through, you know, and some people are not good listeners, but some people are very good listeners, which helps in organizations as well, having good active listening skills. Conflict management, and this is where you are able to manage how conflicts affect you in the workplace. Or, you know, there's always going to be conflict, isn't there, in a workplace? You know, it could be like someone's not listening, you know, you active listening. It could be having patience. You know, active conflict, you know, management is really important within an organization where you are able to resolve conflicts, because, you know, as a manager, you must be able to, you know, stay calm, listen to both sides, and, you know, resolve it. You know, maybe things, you know, trying to make the team work together well, you know, maybe trying to, you know, maybe identifying any sort of, you know, issues that they are having and dealing with them fairly and efficiently, you know, maybe looking at any sort of disagreements people have, you know, and trying to come up with conflict management skills. What about dealing with challenging behaviour? And I think that's quite hard sometimes, especially in the health and social care profession. Why do you think it's sometimes quite hard to deal with people with challenging behaviour? It could be things like, you know,
different people with different behaviors,
yeah,
and some you may feel that you can't cope with this kind of behavior that
yes,
maybe the next
yeah.
person is displaying.
It could be someone
So you
that's,
have to deal with it and accept
yeah,
every behavior and learn how to manage them.
it could be someone who's aggressive, who's upset. They've just heard about their illnesses, they may be upset. You know, it could be someone that, you know, who's disruptive, maybe someone who's not cooperating and inappropriate behavior. But, you know, dealing with things like that, you know, is quite difficult sometimes, but you've got to be able to deal with it in a manner which is helping both, you know, setting boundaries, you know, using policies in place, being understanding, you know, make sure you're, you know, feeling that you are, you know, understanding what the person is saying. And also in dealing with challenging behavior, it's really important to remain calm. You know, try to remain calm when communicating with others, you know, and overcoming any sort of barriers. Make sure you put a plan in place as well. Try to resolve the matter, you know, and make sure, you know, if they have mental health issues or anything like that, make sure, you know, you are taking them into account, because it could be people will have mental health issues. How are you able to deal with that, you know, challenging behavior? And then finally, dealing with people working with people with disabilities. You know, it's really important to identify elements of working with individuals with disabilities, because it's sometimes quite challenging. I mean, I don't know if any of you work with people with disabilities and how hard you find it working with people with disabilities. You know, if there are reasonable adjustments that need to be put in place, make sure you are, you know, looking at reasonable adjustments for that person, and you are supporting that person as an employee, you know, fairly, because there are laws in place if you discriminate against a person with disabilities, you know, and employers need to put that into place, and they have a legal obligation, you know, under the Disability Discrimination Act, that no one should be dealt inappropriately if they have a disability. So you should make sure that, you know, the Equality Act 2010 sets out the element for disability, that, you know, you have to make sure that, you know, employer make sure that the elements of providing a safe environment for that person and avoiding any sort of disability discrimination, but also making sure that, you know, the environment they work in is safe and appropriate for that individual. So these are the different types of skills. I mean, there could be more skills like, you know, active listening skills. There could be things like, you know, you could have patience, communication, interpersonal skills, technical skills. You know, these are skills that may be appropriate working in that environment. So these are some of the references. So we finished learning outcome 1 now. We looked at the different types of jobs and elements of that job in regards to it. So we looked at how the element of what personal development is, what is professional development, and CPD, and we looked at the different types of roles. So we looked at direct care roles, management roles, other care roles, regulated professional roles, and we looked at the progression within a chosen career. So if you wanted to become a nurse, occupational therapist, social worker. We also looked at elements of the skills for specific roles, things like empathy, flexibility, and the personal development skills, active listening skills, and the importance of each one in regards to it with reference to examples. So we finished learning outcome 1 now. Have you got any questions before we finish the session today? Has anyone got any questions?
I have
So these are the references we've used today, so you can link on them if there's any sort of links that you want to go on, and any sort of ebooks and Moodle are available. Ebooks are on Moodle for you, any sort of additional learning.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, sorry, what's that? Emriki? Did you have a question? Hello? Miki, did you have a question? Let's have a look if they... Yes, please, it's about our certificate. Will it be NVQ or... I'm not sure. You need to speak to UK. You need to email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk about any sort of certification and things like that. So if you've got any questions, please email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk. Have you got any other questions before we finish the session? Amike?
Can you hear me?
Sorry?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now, Amike. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay, my question is, when you talk of disability, is it only physical that means disability? Is there other forms of disability?
Yeah, there could be mental, it could be, mental disability. You don't have to be just physical, people have mental disabilities as well. But you must be registered as being disabled, to say that you've got disability, and that, they need to provide, if it's an employer that you work with, they need to make sure that they provide sufficient sufficient elements of it. For example, if you have mental disability, Mika, then you could ask for maybe a separate office, to work where you are calm and not, around noise and things like that. So it could apply to emotional as well, Amike.
Okay, I understand it. Thank you.
It's okay. Any other questions anyone's got?
Yeah, someone posted a question that about the certificate, that will it be NVQ?
I don't know. I've messaged. You need to make sure you email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk to ask them. Okay. You need to email learnerwork@ukvarsity.co.uk if you need to find out about your certification. Okay. Is there any other questions? Has anyone got any other questions before we finish the session? Okay, so thank you for attending today's session. And the next learning outcome is in tomorrow's learning outcome, which is learning outcome 2. So I will see you tomorrow at 1 o'clock. Thank you for attending today's session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.